Hello, my name is Liam Willett, and this is my this is my individual oral presentation for my IB film class. The scene I did from Slumdog Millionaire is the scene where Jamal visits Salim at the top of a building or a building construction site. Jamal is in an elevator. He goes up, he interacts with Salim, and then leaves, and that's the end of the scene. The location and set design. Salim has always been a very selfish and greedy person, but it's a bad thing, but it does bring him a lot of success, although he doesn't have a lot of friends. He's just socially unsuccessful, which is the big topic in this scene. When Jamal finally does see his brother Salim, he's at the top of a building. And construction site, and the reason why it's so high up and why Salim's so high up, and he's looking out at the city, and this signifies that he's got a lot of power and success over everyone else. But the room is empty, and there's no walls. It's barren, and this signifies that he may be financially successful, but there's no substance to it. There's nothing else. He's got, after he loses the money, or if he falls off the building, perhaps, there's nothing to it. He loses, game over. There's one clip of Jamal in the beginning of the scene where he walks onto the elevator, which actually resembles a cage of some sort. And Jamal goes up to the side, and he looks up. He looks out to the city. He can see the city, but the elevator acts as a barrier between him and the city, and this represents the restrictions and limitations that he has in life, because he has no success or power in life. As the elevator rises to the top of the building, this indirectly signifies that he's gaining power. Like, he will gain power. He ends up being dominant to his brother Salim, which I'll talk more about. He ends up with his love interest Latika, and then also he ends up being very financially successful with because he wins Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, so that's a good thing. The camera angles and movement, it focuses on Jamal a lot. There's a lot of over the shoulder shots and close-ups. The over the shoulder shots, they're really good because they show the point of view of Jamal, and they show the point of view more accurately and what he's actually experiencing and seeing, which is, I guess, the point. But the first over the shoulder shot is where where Jamal gets off the elevator and looks over at his brother, and it's over the shoulder, and you can see Salim in the distance. He has a bat. He's hitting things off the building. Again, just showing that he doesn't really give a hoot, whatever he does. Yeah, so Jamal ends up punching Salim. Salim falls to the ground, and then the camera ends up being above and looking down at Salim, and this gives Jamal the power between the two. So Jamal has dominance over Salim in this scene. The editing, the shot where Jamal first sees Salim on the top of the building, the shot's about 5 or 6 seconds long, which is not incredibly long, but it's longer than most of the scenes in this, or most of the shots in this scene. The the audience sees Salim. He's again hitting stuff or whatever. He's out there, and he looks over at Jamal, uh, and then looks away, looks back at Jamal, and then he realizes it's his brother. He's kind of surprised in a disbelieving reaction. He walks over to him, open arms, trying to greet him. But once they make eye contact, the editing and the shots switch between Salim walking, walking closer to Salim walking closer to Jamal, and then shots of Jamal in his reaction towards this. In each shot of Jamal is progressively closer to his face, and this is to show the tension between the two characters. But after they're in pretty close range, we see a glimpse of what Jamal is feeling towards his brother, which is fear and hatred. We see what Jamal wants to do to his brother, Salim. We see Jamal run into Salim and off the cliff, or off the building. But then we see Jamal blink, and then we see that it's what he's thinking rather than what he actually does. What he actually does is punch him to the ground, and well, the scene before that, when he runs off the cliff, that's very chaotic, and that's what that kind of shows. But the contrast between running up someone off the building and just punching them to the ground, the contrast is it's downscaled a lot, and this is because Salim doesn't, or Jamal doesn't want to become Salim. He doesn't want to be corrupted. He doesn't want to stoop down to his level because he's better than that. And that's what he shows in this scene, that he has self-control. The lighting in the shade and the color, the whole room is basically just a yellow and a brown, black, just a dark, just one still color. But I think they're wearing like white and blue or something. And but the two characters, Salim and Jamal, they stick out, and this opposes, and it shows that the colors oppose each other, which signifies the representation of the characters, and that's what the scene does. The representation of the characters and issues. Salim has taken advantage of Jamal basically their whole life, and Salim has always had the power and money over Jamal, and he's just a mean person, so he's selfish. But when Jamal finally confronts Salim and punches him, Salim falls, and this puts Jamal emotionally on top, and it just gives him the dominance over him. Salim realizes that he had, just kind of crossed Jamal, and he realizes at this point because Jamal is really upset, and he just doesn't know what to say. Salim's just throwing out excuses. Jamal just ignores them and just says, the one thing he says is, "I will never forgive you," and then he just turns around and walks away, which I think is very powerful. And then Salim just realizes this and just bows his head, or doesn't bow, but he puts his head down, and at this point he's like really, really close on the ground. He just puts his head down and says, "I know," and this is showing his defeat and his acceptance of his just really selfish behavior. The sound is it's just all diegetic sounds. It's muffled. You can't really hear it. But the noise is basically just city noises, which is to show the reality of the situation. It's also just like kind of calm, other than the two characters. Again, just contrasting their behaviors. But you can hear the dialogue of them fine. There's no music or anything in the background. All the sound is just very organic. The features determining the genre throughout this scene, there's a lot of raw feelings are expressed between the characters, because of all the dramatic acting and such. Uh, this film would be most categorized as a drama, um, maybe an adventure, but that's for other scenes. But just specifically, this scene represents this movie as a dramatic movie. Um, and people who, for the target audience, people who would like maybe a game show, because this movie takes place on the show, the game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And then maybe people who are fans of Bollywood or who are Indian, because that's where it takes place. Uh, or just people who like good movies, because this is a good movie. I liked it. Um, so dramatic movies also. Uh, I thought this was a good movie, a good scene, because it shows the climax of their friendship, which isn't really much of a friendship anymore. It just it peaked and now it's gone, and they're no longer friends, and it's pretty significant in the film. So that's my IOP. Enjoy.